Good morning. Today is December 18th on Sunday at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we're here to talk to you about a very important topic. I'm Christine Riva.
I am John Wright.
And welcome to the Monsters Media Company live stream. So today we're talking with, we're going to, for the purpose of privacy and security, give a Jane Doe name so that we can keep our interview anonymous. But we're here to talk with a special guest today regarding a family member who was brought over through the border, and talk to her about the process that she went through helping her family member come over, and just get a little bit more information out to the public regarding, some of the impacts that has on the family, as well as just the overall process in general, because I think there's some things that the audience will learn today, some misconceptions, as well as just clarifying what, how that process works with, people coming over that are undocumented. So with that, welcome. Jane, how are you today?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Doing well, thanks. So let's jump right in. Obviously we've talked to you in advance, and I just would like to have you start at the beginning and tell us a little bit about, what happened in your situation, as far as your family member that led you to the moment where you were, helping your family member come over.
So my father was incarcerated for 7 years for drug trafficking. He got out in October. He was in Mexico for about 6 months and couldn't find a job. So he decided to go ahead and take the chance and come back over here, even though they gave him a 10 years that you can't come back into the U.S. So he called me one day telling me that he was already in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, which is where they cross you. So I had to send him $2,000 so he could pay the cartel for them to be able to let him cross. After that, he made it over here in about 2 days, calls me and tells me that the other family members who were supposed to help us were not going to help anymore. So here I go to the bank to pull out $8,000 to go meet a stranger to pick up my dad, basically.
So let's take a step back. Just to recap, so when your dad was incarcerated here in the United States, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then once he finished his sentence, he was deported back to Mexico. Is that right?
Yes,
okay.
Ma'am. That's right.
All right. And then from there, his plan was to stay in Mexico, or did he always have plans to come back?
I think he always had plans to come back. I don't believe that he really couldn't find a job. I think he was just being stubborn and just wanted to come back fast. I wanted him to wait a little longer and save money and not rely on us to bring him back, because it was very expensive.
And when you say us, are you referring to your dad's family?
Yes, my dad's family.
Okay.
What kind of work was he looking for?
In Mexico, he was trying to work in factories, but he said that he couldn't find a job because he didn't have any kind of identification and stuff like that. So that was his excuse for not finding a job.
And he does have family in Mexico, correct?
Yes, he does.
Okay. All right. Okay, so bring us to the point where now your dad's been deported and you get that first phone call.
Yes.
So is it from your dad directly, or is it from somebody that you don't know?
No, it's from my dad directly.
Okay. And he says what to you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How does he I guess, how does he ask you for your help?
He basically tells me when he's already in Tamaulipas that he's already coming. Like he's like, hey, I need you to send the $2,000. I'm already here, and nobody's answering the phone to help me. So I felt forced to do that for him because I didn't want anything to happen to him if I didn't.
So you go to the Western Union, send the money.
Yes.
And then wait.
Yeah, wait for the next phone call.
One quick question, Jane. When your dad says he's here, what does that mean? He's here at the border, or where specifically? Or I should say, in general, where was he?
He was in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, but when he got out, he was living in Guadalajara. So but in Reynosa, that's where he knows the people.
So he was actually at the checkpoint then, when you got that first phone call?
Yes, he was in a border town. Tamaulipas is known as a border town. That's where most people go to cross to this side.
Okay. And just for the audience, can you tell us roughly how far is that to the actual checkpoint where you crossed into the United States?
Tamaulipas is probably 4 hours.
Okay.
It's really close.
So before we get into the actual money exchange, do you know if your dad had to walk that 4 hours to cross, or were there people helping him by car or by truck?
Yeah, it was by car. He only walked 2 hours just to cross that checkpoint in Falfurrias. That's all he walked, and the rest was all in car.
And he was brought over by a coyote?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now you've been asked to Western Union $2,000.
Yes.
Which you did. And from that point, how long was it before you got that second phone call?
It was 2 days later. He was already he had already crossed the Falfurrias checkpoint. He was basically already on his way to Houston after that point.
And just from a process standpoint, normally when a family member would pick up their loved one, would it be at the border checkpoint, or how is that normally arranged?
Yes, that's what he wanted me to do in the first place, pick him up after he had already crossed the checkpoint in Falfurrias. But I was not willing to take a risk like that because I could have still got pulled over and not have an illegal with me. And he wanted me to pick him up and 3 other people. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh, the more people.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So take us then step by step from the point where you got the second phone call.
So once I got the second phone call that he was already on his way, I started contacting my family members, and nobody was answering me or willing to help me because I already kind of had a feeling that it was going to be me who was going to have to pay those $8,000. I just felt it in my gut. And sure enough, then once he already arrived in Houston, after that, he no longer contacted me anymore. It was only the coyote who was contacting me.
Was that because of the coyote trying to control the situation, or?
Yes, they want to make sure that we're not trying to get him without paying or something. I'm not sure why it is that they don't let you contact the family anymore. Only they talk to us.
Gotcha.
And basically, it's just me communicating with him.
Did your dad have a mobile phone on him, or did they confiscate that? Do you know anything about that?
They did confiscate his phone because the whole time he did have a phone. When he was in Reynosa, he was calling me and everything. He had a phone. And then once he already made it to Houston, they took the phone away, and I was only communicating with the coyote.
Yeah, they're just trying to control the situation.
Yeah.
Until they get the rest of their money.
Was it mostly by live conversation, or were you texting back and forth?
It was only through the WhatsApp app. That's the only way he would communicate with me.
Okay. So you get the second phone call, and how long was that from the first phone call?
It was like a day apart. Like it was, yeah, it was a day apart, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then what happens?
Then once they got here, the guy tells me to meet him at a fast food place. Make sure I bring the $8,000. I'm a nervous wreck. I'm on my way trying to find this location. I get lost. He won't meet me where I'm at because he wasn't trusting, you know. He thought that I was trying to set him up or something. So finally I make it to where I'm supposed to meet and he arrives. I hand him over the money. But once he arrived, I felt comfortable because I saw that my dad was in the passenger side of the truck. So I figured, okay, this is legit. I hand him the money. He starts counting it, and my dad gets off the truck and gets in my car like nothing. And he starts telling me how I was and that he barely even walked. And it was like it was a normal thing for him. And I'm a nervous wreck.
Is this has your dad had to cross this way before, or was this the first time?
This was the first time that we actually had to pay money. Before, he would walk because he knows the way. He would walk by himself. But we're talking years ago. Before there was then where you had to pay the cartels and all that kind of stuff. And now it's completely different. They control everything over there.
How many times has he crossed and got deported?
Like 10.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah, he's been in. Yes.
It costs money.
Oh, yes.
And then once you pay the coyote, is that the end of the transaction, or?
Yeah, that's it. That was, yeah, simple.
Well, really interesting and frightening.
How did it feel to get or turn loose of $10,000?
It hurt my pockets really bad, but I felt forced. I didn't want him to end up hurt, and I already knew what the consequences could be. So yeah. I really didn't have a choice. I mean, I love my dad regardless of his mistakes.
Is he working now? Did he find a job here?
Yes, he's working. I got him a job and he's doing good. He's paying me back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Progress.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you sitting down with us today. And this is, I think, an important topic to share with the community. And, obviously was a scary situation for you. We're happy that nobody got hurt. I know that's not always the case. We hear about these situations so often where, the outcome isn't good. So
yeah, it sounded like it was a pretty smooth transaction for a, rough situation.
Yeah, it was. I was very lucky.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Jane. We really appreciate your time today, and we look forward to having some future conversations with you. There's, some other things that we want to talk to you about at a later date, and so we'd love to have you come back and join us again.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye. Bye-bye. All right. Well, that wraps it up for us today on Monsters Media Company Street Talk.
And we have more videos coming soon, so make sure you like and subscribe and follow us for more.
Thank you.